Why silence between husband and wife feels louder than fights. Though when silence looks harmless at first, actually peaceful, no shouting, no harsh words, no tension on the surface, but something feels off. Because when a husband and wife stop talking, the room does not become quiet. It becomes loud in a different way. This is interesting. Fights are noisy, yes, but silence stays. And it stays after the argument should have ended, after apologies should have happened, after closeness should have returned. So why does silence feel heavier than anger? Why does it sit in the chest longer? This is concerning, because silence does not look like damage, but it slowly is. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Arguments still contain connection. When people fight, they are still engaging, still reacting, still emotionally present. Even anger says you matter enough to respond to. Now silence says something else. Silence says I have stopped trying. And that message hurts more than raised voices ever could. Because anger passes. Silence trains distance, and distance becomes normal. Is that intentional? Most of the time, no. Often silence begins as self-protection, not punishment. Because psychologist John Gottman explains something subtle but powerful. Emotional withdrawal damages relationships more deeply than conflict itself. Not shouting, not disagreement, withdrawal. When one person shuts down emotionally, the other person is left guessing. Guessing what went wrong, guessing whether they still matter. And the mind fills the gaps, usually with fear. That fear repeats, again and again. Silence becomes the loudest message in the marriage. Now let us slow down. Silence does not appear suddenly. It forms gradually, approximately over weeks, sometimes years. A feeling was shared once. It was brushed aside. Another time, minimized. Another time, ignored politely. So the mind learns. Speaking leads nowhere. And slowly, words stop. Not because love is gone, but because hope is tired. This is sad and very common. Now picture this. Dinner is ready, plates placed carefully. One person eats quietly, the other scrolls. No argument happened today, no fight. And yet the silence feels thick. Questions remain unasked. Emotions remain parked somewhere inside. That is the loud silence. No blame, no shouting. Just unfinished emotion, sitting between two people who share a life. And that silence repeats tomorrow, and the next day. But silence does something else. It removes repair. Fights allow repair, apologies, clarifications. Silence offers nothing to fix, so the emotional gap widens quietly. Now here's the part many people miss. Silence teaches both partners to expect less warmth, less sharing, less effort. And once expectations shrink, connection follows. This is not because either person is bad. It is because silence feels safer than being heard again. And this matters. This is not about husbands being wrong or wives being wrong. It often happens when both people feel unheard at different times. One withdraws to avoid conflict, the other withdraws to avoid rejection. Different reasons. Same result. Distance. And distance feels personal even when it was never meant to be. So the real question is not who started it. The real question is what was said once and never received. What emotion is still waiting for acknowledgement? Because silence usually hides unexpressed pain, not lack of love. But reconnection does not begin with louder conversations. It begins with safer ones, smaller ones. Sometimes just one honest sentence, spoken without accusation, not, "You never listen." But I stopped speaking because I felt invisible. That shift matters, because silence ends when safety returns. And silence does not mean the relationship is over. Often it means the relationship is waiting for permission to speak again, waiting for reassurance that words will not be punished. Fights are loud, but silence is heavier. because silence carries everything that was never said. And sometimes, breaking that silence gently is the bravest thing a couple can do. Together, quietly, carefully.